So today I want to speak with you about grid, some CSS with superpowers, some animations, transitions, and other stuff that you can already see. And I also saw a lot of animations in your works, but today we'll speak about it more and more. So agenda for today's lectures, you can see it here, and I want to stop on that because we have not much time. Okay, so firstly, important to remember, I want to make some rules for our lectures and for our course. First of it, it's we do not use any frameworks. We write in pure HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So why should we have it here? Our course is front-end basics, and you can't learn React or Vue or any other framework, library, or I don't know, something like that, without basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And it's like front base fundamentals know of everything. And if I see some projects on React, I won't accept it because the main idea and the main condition for that project, for that, not project, sorry, for that course is to use only vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And also, very important rule, if you generate any code with AI, you must be able to explain every single character. Additionally, as someone can saw it today, I can give you some additional tasks just for checking some knowledge, basic or something like that. And the main grades will be based on that task. So yeah, if you generate your code just with AI, be able to explain it and describe everything and answer on my questions because there will be a lot of questions. And also, to be honest, it's very clear when code just generated. And also, I want to please you to be very dedicated when you're reading task description. I tried and will try to add more and more details and what to do in that homework. And for example, if I speak about today's, I can open it 1 second. Here we have all of the important things that must be done in our homework. Here we can see flexbox, media queries, float, positioning, and everything. And also we have two tasks. So please be aware of it and read carefully. Okay, and today I want to have some live coding session with you. So firstly, please open your VS Code, create empty file, and today we will write code both side by side. So yeah, let's start. As usual, create empty HTML file, write explanation mark. By the way, I finally learned how it's called in English. So yeah, and let's start with
What is it called in English?
Hmm?
What is it called in English?
Explanation mark, just for using. You can write explanation mark, then click enter, and you have your HTML structure. Here, let's change the title. How do I call it? Best swamp. Okay, so let's start with that card. Let me open the Figma. And when you work with web pages, you always need to decompose your task. And for example, here we have like full web page, and we need to divide it for the smallest task. And here, like some logically first task is to create that card because it's like the main functionality of our web page, and we can see it here like with some information, and that's the main idea for user to click it. So let's start with that. Let's firstly write div for our card, and here we have some image, but let's make not image, let's make, okay, we can add image. You can also use web pages like that, just for adding here. And thirdly, when you work with your card, you can just put some basic items of it and then work with your CSS. So here we have image. Image we have for the whole card. And for example, here we can see that that part of that card description part, it has some paddings of it. So we put image here and then we add another div for that part, because for that part we will add some paddings. Okay, so here we have some title, subtitle, I guess. Let it be H2. Let's copy that information here. We have main title. Let it be H1. And we have button. And for the button, we also can put some text tag. And here we have the basic structure of our card. So now let's work with that. And firstly, 1 second. Let's add some styles. Let it be inside our HTML file. And yeah, Copilot always asked me about that. We need to write our very important rule, box size importer box. So we have our card, and now we can write it class card. And it must be class card because we can reuse that card and that class for another components. And firstly, let's add some borders. Yes, and here we have that width of it. So for the width, we can write width, for example, 300 pixels. And here we have the problem that our image is not contains in our card. So for the image, let's also name it card image. And for card image, we can write width 100%. And now it's located fully in our div. And height, for example, here we have, but yeah, we must work mobile first. So here we have height 220 pixels. Oh yeah, and by the way, when we work with images, we can write object fit and, for example, cover, and it will be fully covered for our container. It also have some other places like contain, and it will add some borders, and it won't crop it. But now we need cover. Okay, so then we have some card description. Let's also add here class for that. And here we have margin paddings for 24 pixels. Yes, here it is. Okay, so then for styling, let's name our description class card description date. And we can add here some color, let it be just gray. And here you can also see some font sizes, font weight, and other stuff. I don't want to use font weights, not font weights, font family. But yeah, let it be like that. And let's add for H1. And let it be card description title. And also use that color here. And let it be font size 24 pixels. Okay, so and here we can also see the gap between that. And for card description date, let me open just DevTools. Yeah, for H1 we need to remove margin. And for H2, let's also remove some margin. And after that, we can write margin bottom. And let it be 8 pixels. And for that part, 16 pixels. Okay, and let's very fast style our button component. So we create the basic structure of it, and we can see that it's very close, and we need to remove our border and add some border radius. And here border radius is 8 pixels, so let's add it. And when we work with border radius, it's also important to add overflow hidden, just to make it hidden. And now we can see that our borders is cropped. Okay, so let's move on and let's work with that button. And I want now for you to make it. And then we make it both. So let's make it first, and then I will vote it.
Yeah.
So if we want to position it here or position near the image, let's put our image inside the div. And name it somehow like part image container. And then, oh no, Copilot, very bad thing. What do we need to put here to positioning that button inside that div? Who can answer? What do we need to write here for the div for position that button inside that div? What it must be?
Relative?
Yes, right.
Position relative. Like what corners do we have to put here?
For that button, we need to use position absolute. And if we want to position it inside the div with image, for the div with image, we need to write position relative. So write it please now. Okay, so let's move on. For cart image container, we need to write position relative. And then we can place here that button. So here we can add some div for now. But for the future, it should be button. And let's write it like just without heart. And let's name it cart icon button. So for positioning, now inside that div, we need to use position absolute. And here, when we just write position absolute, yep. And for example, if I write top 0, it will be placed here. But why not? Yeah, let's remove also margin for A. So here we have that placed, and if we remove here relative and write here, for example, bottom, how do you think where it will be placed? We remove for cart image container position relative and wrote for that A bottom 0. Where it will be now? How do you think? Yes. And we can see here because we didn't wrote any position relative, and now it's related to our main web page, the whole screen. And it's also very important to write position relative for absolute because it will be positioned in somewhere else. So yeah, here we can write, for example, here it has okay, let's place it with top 16 pixels, let it be. And right, let it be also 16 pixels. Now we can add some background color, let it be white. We can add some border radius. For the circle, it must be 100%. And let's write with 16 pixels and height 16 pixels. Yeah, now we have that problem that tag P with text A isn't centered inside the div. So how we can do it? Obviously with display flags. We write here justify content center and align items also center. So here we have it. Okay, good. Do you have maybe now some questions for that part?
It's kind of hard for me to see, like.
Hmm?
To be honest, it's kind of hard for me to see code most of the time.
Hmm.
So like, it can like take a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, we are not yet professional programmers for you at that frankly ludicrous speed.
Okay.
And Copilot is getting kind of annoying. Most of the time.
And there's a box, it's compiled. It's not anything.
Yeah, let's also add some box shadow for this card. Okay, so again, we have that card. We have div for that image. Here we place two elements, image and icon button. For the div, we wrote position relative because we want to position inside of the div. And for that icon button, we wrote position absolute, located it in the top of 16 pixels and right 16 pixels. Add some basic styling for that, and for centering that A inside that div, we wrote display flags, justify content center, and align items also center. And now we can be a truly front-end developer because we can center the div. Okay, so let's a little bit move on. We have that card component, and now we want to have it a lot. So let me just copy it and paste a lot of times. That's my mistake. 1 second. Let's also put that card inside main tag because it's our main part of the website. And now let's duplicate that code for card. A lot of times. What is the question? What is the question?
Do you have order or not?
No.
I said that we have order is both shadow.
Yes. We just added box shadow and we copied it from Figma. Here you can see it. And here it's with dev mode, but without dev mode, we can, if I'm not mistaken, put here, and here we can use.
What's the color of yellow?
You can write just yellow.
Yellow, like sun yellow is kind of ugly. Okay. Maybe.
Oh, I can zoom it. Okay. Here we have that color, and it's have that code. BBF E0A. Okay, so let's move on. And here we have a lot of that cards. And now I want to have it at the center of that page and with some gaps. How should I write it here?
Grid.
No grid today.
That's what
How?
our container. We can put all these cards in one container. The place works and I'm trying to remember. Well, first of all, we need to put all these cards in one div. meeting
Mm-hmm.
and what's the
Maybe Elizaveta Oksana know how to make it at the center of that web page, that cards. Elizaveta and Ksenia didn't know. Okay. So here we have that main tag with all of our cards, and we can write here just class and no card container. And here we can write card container. Then we write display, not inline, but flex. And now we have that ugly structure. And then we can write not justify content, sorry. Flex direction, column. Then for edit our gap for rows, we can use row gap, and thanks Copilot for that. And also, if we speak about mobile adaptivity, for example, we want to have it for the whole screen. So here for that card, we need to write width 100%. And we have it here. Let's also, no, that's it, yes. Okay, so please remind me, if we speak about mobile adaptivity, what should we use, max width or min width? Yeah, finally. Very
Okay,
good.
okay, so like a bit of a tangent. Next question, why do we need max width? Why it is better utilized?
I don't know, to be honest. It's like we have a lot of different CSS rules that you won't use every day or you won't use at all. And max width for someone, it's very useful. Someone thinks that it's very cool to write with it. We have also haters of mobile first principles and other stuff. And it's just for variety of CSS styles. So you can write it with max width, without min width, but for the best practices, and it's like generally best practices, that it must be min width. Okay, so let's work now on mobile adaptivity. Now we can write media, screen, and min width. And a small reminder from the last lecture. Here we can see the sizes of different media queries. I attached that presentation for materials of previous lecture, and you can see it, and I highly recommend to use that one because it's like a general standard and some libraries use it, so yes. Here we have that media query. We can write media with that symbol. Then we write screen for attaching that to screens. And we write min width 744 pixels. And now we can write here anything, and it will be, let me also change here the size of it. Yeah, and here, for example, we want to we want to have that card for with width 50%. And here we can just write change the width. Let's make it 50. And now very interesting moment. We want to have it in one line, but not everything. And what should we use? How we can wrap it? what CSS styles, what CSS no conditions, not condition styles we use for wrapping all that column. Can answer.
Thanks.
Yes, it's very easy. Okay, so let's write now for our card container. And here we have some problems that, for example, if it's second. Yeah, here we can also, we need to remove like duration and write it like on set. And here we have a problem that if we have some gap for our container, let's also write here column gap 10 pixels. Here, if we want to locate it with just two cards in one line, we have the problem that when we write with 50% and it's not located in one line. So in one line, we have only one card. So how to do it? How do you think? Maybe someone know how to do it. Someone know how to do it? How to locate it now with width of 50% of the whole screen for one line? How do we need to write the width? We have flex wrap here, we have flex direction on set and width 50%. And also column hemp 10 pixels. Okay, so if no one know, let me just describe and tell you about that very interesting. We can use calc for the width and now see some magic or some just mathematics calculation. We have that we want to have that width of 50%, but we have some column gap. And when we see it, let me just show it. You can see it here that if we place it, for example, let's make here 10%, we can see it here. And if we will put our cursor here, you can see that borders, that spaces, gaps between the elements. So when we speak about that, we need to understand that if we want to place, for example, two cards, we need to just minus it, that gap. So here we can write with calc, and we need to put here that gap, and it will work like here. So here we have that calc, then we have our size of our component, and then we have that column gap that we want to remove from our width. And now we can see it here. It's very good placed, and we can move on. Okay, so we add some mobile adaptivity. We have some tablet adaptivity. Let's see it. Yes, and here you can see that we have that very good adaptivity, but for example, for the laptop, we have that 3 cards in one line. So let's move on to the next breakpoint. No. And let's write for that size. So now if we want to have 3 cards, what do we need to write here? How do you think? Here can be any mathematic not 33. Here can be placed any mathematical operations, or if you want to use that, you can write like here, we divide 100% by 3. We can put also some additional brackets, 1 second. Yes, and then we just remove now 20 pixels, not 20 pixels, why 20 pixels? Yes, and we remove that gap. So here you can play a lot with that calc function for the width. It's also attached to the height for the min width, for the max width, and everything that it works with sizes. Yes, and here we have adaptivity for our laptop. And that's it. That's the whole adaptivity for the main part. And for example, we can also work with that apartments, but I don't think that we have enough time for that. So let's work with header component. For the header component, we use our header tag. Then we have that title but swamp. And then we have that navigation with different pages. So let's write here. But it won't be that correct because it's not.
Of course.
It's very important to write that calc function and not just 33%.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's add here some home verification. By property and FAQ. So yeah, and the questions that I have asked today a lot, how do we, what should we write inside a tag to open the link in the new window? When we click it here, for example, home, and we want to open it inside a new window, how to do it? Yes, super. Okay, and also another question. We work now with mobile first principle. And now I want to hide that links for mobile adaptivity. How should I do it?
Like, just like over, not overflow either.
No, not visibility. And no overflow. Very creative idea, but no. Okay, so here we have that min width with that size. Let's just name nav with class navigation. Yes, wonderful, very good. Here we can write just display none, and it will remove it from our HTML on the website. So here we can see it and everything is good. And for removing it, we need to write here navigation and then write, for example, just display flags and justify content space between as Copilot recommended. Yes, and here we have seen this. Okay, let's also add some class for the header. For the header, we can add some box shadow. Let's copy it from the Figma. For your code, you can write just border 1 pixel solid black. And header must be how positioned? How do you think? What position value we use for header?
Sticky.
Yes, very good. So here we can write not relative. Oh my god, Copilot, you're not that clever. And now remind me how to put it under or above. I forget. Not усім контентом. What do we use for that? What
The
CSS
index.
style? Yes, super. But let's write then. Yeah, and also we need to write some background color. Yes, and we have that sticky header. So it looks beautiful now. Okay, so let's continue with our header. For positioning that in one line, we use again display flex. And it put here. And how now? How should we write our CSS styles for making that part with best swamp in left and another part with navigation in right? So they are just divided by the page, and they are into different orders. How should we do it? Not space around.
Space between.
Yes, super. We must use justify content and write here space between. And also for that, we need to write width 100% to take whole page. And not for the container. Oh my god, sorry. Yes, and here we have that. Also for centering by horizontally, not horizontally, vertically, we need to use align items and write center. So for the next part, for our navigation, we can write it here and add some, I don't know, column gap. Let it be for pixels. Let's make it 12 pixels. Yes, and maybe that's it. So I don't want to spend a lot of time for basic styling, and our main idea for today to better understand display flex and how to work with it. And yeah, I think that's it. We have our very basic concept of our web page, and we can add some additional styling and other stuff. But the main idea to remember about width of cards, to remember about display flex, justify content space between, and other stuff, and also very important for using media queries. Do you have maybe some concerns now or questions or something like that?
I have a question. Why we don't use unordered list to navigation bar? Isn't it would be better?
Can you repeat, please?
Why we don't use unordered list to navigation bar?
Unordered widths?
Or list.
Oh, for navigation, you can use different text and different elements, but basically you can use just a tag. And today I want to just use just show you the main ideas, not main ideas, main using of Flexbox. But yeah, for better better self-optimization, every a tag should be placed inside li element, and li element should be in container of general list.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So yeah, it's just for saving our time. But every tag should be placed like that, and then we need to work with styling and other stuff. So yeah. Maybe someone else have some questions. Maxim, have you succeeded?
Yeah. So, this, in which 724, why do we say that the location out of measure queries explain that, but inside measure queries, it's works and justified one, why not vice versa?
Why not vice versa? Look, when we see here, so okay, we have that navigation here, yes, and let's move our screen to, for example, 400 pixels of size. And firstly, firstly for that navigation, implement that style that go without that media. So if we want to hide it, we write display none. If you write here after display none, display flex, display flex will be implemented and it will override display none. So if we want to hide it for mobile devices, we write display none, and then we like open it. We again add it with display flex. So display flex override display none, and after that breakpoint, it will be shown because we have the display flex. Okay, good. So let's move on to another part. And I will, oh no, there's no time to break. Okay, so yeah, today I wanted to speak with you about grid. Yes, and grid is a very, oh, I don't know even how to describe it culturally, to be honest, because grid it's like totally mind-blowing and it's a very scary thing, even for senior developers, even when you tackle it in your company or something like that. And every time you need to remember a lot of different rules, and you will every time Google it. Okay, so when we speak about grid, you can stop your coding and just listen to the lecture. So when we have flex, it's like we have the elements, and it's just one dimension. So we have that, or we have that. So we have only one dimension for one rule, and grid it's like 3D. I don't know. Like we have some basic 2D designs and other stuff, and then when 3D was created, I think it was like a very fundamental procedure. But yeah, when we speak about grid, we can have that one, then that, and it will be our main web page, and everything of it will be written with display grid. And now we have two dimensions, vertical and horizontal. For better understanding, we also have, yeah, I put here, I set up professional audio, oh my God. I will attach some link for very useful course. 1 second here. And I highly recommend you to pass it and to enroll it and to see every lecture of it. Here, I especially hide the information of hours of that course. So you won't shocked now, but maybe you will be shocked when you enroll it. And yes, here we have Flexbox, we have grid, we have animations and more. And also it's like a very I don't know how to describe it, to be honest, but it's like our lectures what should be what should be today. But unfortunately, we have a very bad neighbors, and our plans were ruined. Okay, so let's have a quick overview of our grid and how does it work. So for the grid, we have only Z styles. We have grid container, grid item, grid lines, grid tracks, grid cells, and grid area. And recently, we worked with tables, and grid, it's a little bit similar to tables, but in more like просунутый рівень. And yeah, it's like really advanced level for styling and for thinking. And let's have a quick overview of everything. So we write just grid template columns and grid template rows. And for example, here we have our web page, and we have, let's make it not like that, 1 second. Just for thinking about that, we have our web page, and we have some content here. Then we have content here. And let's maybe like that and that. I don't know, there can be a lot of different information, and there can be different tables for it. So when we see it, we can just draw here a line. And here are our columns. So when we write that grid template columns, 100 pixels, 200 pixels, and auto, we have here 100 pixels, 200 pixels, and here there will be all other parts that was from our screen. So if here 1000 pixels, so here will be 700. And also we have grid template rows. So here we can see it here. Also we can write it like here, and there can be a lot of different rows. And then every component, that component, that component, that part, that part, that part, and that part, we can place inside that columns and rows, or just areas. So yeah, you can write it with pixels, with percentage, and other stuff. Also, if you want to repeat the same, you can use a new dimension, new значение, and it's called FR. So if you write it, it will be the same for every part. So if you want to repeat it, you can write repeat 3 times with FR, and every column will be the same. So that one will be equal to that one and that one. Okay, and if we want to yeah, here it's align items, the same with display flex. 1 second. Did I put it here? Oh my god. No, I didn't put it here. Okay, but in that course, you will learn that you can place every element in that columns and rows, and you need to calculate in your brain that if you, for example, want to place it in 3 columns, you need also to match. If you want to place it with 2, you can write it, and yes. So everything is calculated with like cells, and if you want to put it just in 1 cell, you need to mention it. If you want to have I don't know, component like that, so we have 2 columns and 2 rows. Same with the tables, but in more advanced level. And it's very bad that we have so less time. Okay, and also, yes, there is a difference between Flexbox and CSS grids. And as a Flexbox grid system have also their funny game that you can play with and learn grid. I also highly recommend to pass it because it's very funny and it's really describe you everything and you will learn a lot with that. So yeah, it will be also attached to our materials and you can find it in our presentations that will be also attached to that model. Yes, and here we have also a very interesting thing in CSS because CSS is not that cool because we want to be cooler, we want to be better, and we don't want to write a lot of code and we want to have some reducing code. So we have SAS, we have CSS and less, and it's like really CSS with superpowers because with that you can write a lot of different things and it will be looks very cool. So for that, I really highly recommend just open their documentation and you can see here a lot of different materials. 1 second, let me. Yeah, and here they write everything about SAS and how to work with it. But firstly, if we want to work with it, we need to install that extension in Visual Studio Code, and let's install it now. It's called like that. So what is SAS and why do we need compiler? SAS, it's like library for CSS where you can really like use some programming techniques or something like that, where you can write some variables, where you can create your own theme, which you used for the Figma, for example. If you have some repeated colors and other stuff, you write it only once and then repeated that variables. So when you installed it, here in that bottom panel, you will have that Watch SAS button. We need to create index.html file again. For example, here, add it as ordinary index CSS, not index as CSS. And for SAS file, we need to create a file with extension SCSS. And here will be some magic. 1 second. Let me open. Yes. So here, for example, we can we can write some variables. For example, green background that we can use everywhere. Or for example, that color of button, we also can write it as a variable. And then when we write P styles for P tag, we can just write that variable and it have that syntaxes. So here you can see variable with a dollar symbol and then usage of that. And very important when you work with it, when you start your file, you need also to click here, watch CSS, and where it is. Yeah. Here you need to click that watch SAS, and that SAS file will be compiled into CSS. And that's why we need to put here, 1 second. And that's why we need to put here index CSS and not SCSS. Because if we put SCSS, it won't be compiled. It's not pre-processed, and it must be compiled to CSS. A lot of information, I know, but you will learn about it a lot in that course. And I think you will love it. Okay, so what's advantages and why do we need that SAS, less, and other stuff? 1 second. Here you can see that variables, and for example, if we want to use that variables, we will write again and again and again that color, for example. But here we can write just once, and I highly recommend to use SAS for your final project. And for that project, you will have some additional grades for that, and you will see it in that assignment for your homework. But with that, for example, if we write everywhere, like for example here, we have that yellow color, and in in production code it's used a lot. And for example, we have it here in logo, we have it here in search, we have it here in that button. Also, if I'm not mistaken, it locates somewhere here, for example, for that contact host when it's button available. If I'm not mistaken, we also have it here. Yes, for example, for apply button and for other stuff here, we also have that yellow color, and it placed in a lot of different places. And for example, our designers for that project wanted or decided to change that yellow color and not to go everywhere, not to change that color in every place and write a lot of code, have that huge commit with different styles. We can change it only in one place and it will be changed everywhere. It's very useful, and it's like entry for the React concepts to reuse everything. Yes, you need every time to remember that everything can be everything can be reused and everything must be reused. So here with the colors, it's a very bright example for that. Okay, so what else do we have? For example, here we also have some nesting styles, and we can write not like here. We can place it inside that navigation tag or some classes or some IDs, and it's also very useful, and it's very приємно with working and not writing like that, and every time remember that it's placed inside that, etc., etc. But here we have just that main component, and then everything inside that is it will be compiled for that components. So here you can see example from SAS how it works in here and how it compiles and how you can write it in CSS. So here also we have some modules. We can write some files, for example, how they show it base SCSS. Put here some styles, for example, that. And then here you can just import your base model and use it. So it's for dividing your code into different parts. It's for improving your code quality, and you won't have, for example, 1,000 lines of CSS. You will have, for example, I don't know, 5 or 6 files with less lines of code, and it will be placed better. Also, we have some mixins. Mixins is it's like it's not only like theme, but it's like some part of your code that you can reuse, for example, for the cards, or for example, for styling your titles. For example, here, where it is. Here are the filters, the rooms, that amenities, community amenities, public transportation can be written with mixins, and it's also very useful. Also, we have some extended inheritance. You can read about it here. And also we have some advanced mathematics here with some operators. How much time do we have? Okay, 5 minutes. Very set. And it looks like that. So I don't know, let's maybe have some quick overview of everything. So yes, here you can, I put it detailed instruction for that, and you can read that material from our lecture and enroll that course. But yes, 1 second. Yeah, and about pseudo classes, it's syntaxes of it, and today I asked you a lot about that, so I think that you are very similar with that. Let's have some recap of our last lecture and of your knowledge that we have entry pseudo classes. For example, we can work with link, we have visited, hover, active, and focus, and here you can write it what everything stands for. Also, we have some pseudo classes for structural methods, and it's first, last child, nth child, but you have worked with that. Okay, and the most important is hover, but you also similar with that. Yeah, and also transitions. I will also attach some materials with transitions, animations, and other stuff, and I think we will have some time on our next lecture with that, but it was planned to be today. But yeah, we can work with transitions and animations, and here you can see that syntaxes that we write, and here, for example, we want to have that changing color of background color. Yeah, and we have different properties, and everyone stands for different thing. And yes. So yeah, we have only 4 minutes, and I think that we can end today's lecture because it won't be that good to tell you about everything in the rush.